Is sugar really bad for you? What is it about sugar that we keep hearing that is so bad and that it affects our health? In this video, I'm going to explain to you how sugar gets absorbed into the body, what the implications are, and if you have diabetes, prediabetes, insulin resistance, or metabolic syndrome, this video is for you. So I'm going to dissect how blood sugar is affected by sugar and what we can do about it. I'm going to give you 3 strategies at the end of the video that are going to help you manage your blood sugar. If you're interested, keep watching. So what is it about sugar that is so bad for you? So let's just get started and talk about carbohydrates. What is a carbohydrate? Typically called a carb. Carbohydrate can be either a simple carbohydrate, which is also a monosaccharide, or a complex carbohydrate. A simple carbohydrate is glucose. That is the basic form of energy that our bodies use. And this is the objective of digestion, is to get glucose out of the food, convert the food into the simplest form, which is glucose, and that's what the body needs. A disaccharide is a 2 sugar molecule. So whereas glucose is a monosaccharide, a 1 sugar molecule, a disaccharide would be something like table sugar, which is composed of glucose and fructose. So glucose is obtained from the breakdown of table sugar. So we have glucose, we have fructose, and it gets converted very fast. As soon as it comes into the body, in the digestive system, it takes no time for it to get into the bloodstream. Now the bloodstream is like the highway that takes everything, all the nutrients, into the cells. And so as soon as you have a monosaccharide, then the blood sugar is going to go up, and after it peaks, it comes straight down. There's nothing holding it back. A disaccharide is going to take a little bit of time, but is basically going to be broken down really fast. The glucose is right there and available. So you'll have a big spike and a big drop down. Now, what happens when your blood sugar drops suddenly? You have fatigue, you're gonna feel sleepy, and you're going to feel like you want more food. So you're gonna have a lot of sugar cravings. So that's not ideal. So let's talk about a complex carbohydrate. We were talking about simple carbohydrates, and a complex carbohydrate is something that has fiber in it. And so it's going to be glucose molecules put together in a long chain. And so the body has to break that down, and every single molecule that comes off is going to be a simple sugar or a glucose. But that's going to take a little bit more time than breaking down a disaccharide like table sugar. So this is going to take a little longer, but you're still going to get a spike. So anytime that you have a starch, there is fiber in it. Depending on how much fiber there is, then the absorption of the glucose takes longer. So fiber slows down the release of sugar from a bite of food, and that is ideal, because when there's fiber and the absorption is slow, then the glucose spike is lower. So it's ideal to have fiber. What else has fiber? Starches and starchy vegetables, but also leafy vegetables. Fruits. Any vegetables and any fruits are going to have fiber in them. Any plant food has fiber. So that's going to slow down the release of that sugar. But what happens if we are really hungry and we have a salad for lunch, for example? That salad is going to be broken down. The blood sugar is probably not going to go up very far, but we're also going to stay hungry because there's nothing else coming in to fill us up. And until we meet our requirements for protein, we're not going to feel satiated. We're not going to feel like we are full and satisfied. So enter protein. What is protein? Protein comes from either animal sources, meat, poultry, fish, or there's a little bit of protein in plant sources also. And there's a lot of protein in soybeans. So you can find protein in tofu and also in legumes. Now, the protein in legumes and soybeans is not as readily available as the protein in animal products, but it's still protein. And so you're going to need a lot more in order to meet your requirements. The reason I talk about this is because not only is protein going to be digested slowly and broken down more slowly, it gets digested in the stomach. When protein gets digested in the stomach, the only place in the digestive tract that you have hydrochloric acid, you have an acid environment, is in the stomach. You need acid in order to break down protein. So if you think of a steak, for example, and you add some vinegar to it, that vinegar is going to be tenderizing that meat and is going to be softer than it was to begin with. However, if you pour hydrochloric acid into that steak is going to disappear in a couple of hours. And so that's what the stomach is. The stomach is loaded with hydrochloric acid if you have your digestive system that is healthy and you're doing what you're supposed to do. However, as we get older, we stop or decrease the amount of hydrochloric acid that we secrete. And the consequence of that is that when we eat protein, we feel bloated, or we feel like the protein just sits there. So it's important to know that. But let's go back to sugar. So there is some glucose in protein. So when that hydrochloric acid starts breaking it down, there's some glucose released, but it's coming out very slowly. And that's why protein helps us feel satiated, helps us feel full, helps us feel like we've had something to eat. And the glucose spike is not very high. So keep that in mind, and when I give you your strategies at the end, it will all make sense. And then what's left? What's left is fat. So we can have saturated fat, which is a solid fat, could come from animal products or from vegetable, like coconut oil, for example. And fats could be monosaturated, like olive oil, avocado oil, or polyunsaturated, which are like your flaxseed, chia seeds. That kind of a fat is very thin, very light. And then we have the olive oil, and olive oil is kind of a thick oil. And we have saturated fats like butter and coconut oil or lard. All of these fats are good for the body, and we're not going to talk about fats in this video, but they are providing some nutrients. Now, when fat gets digested, it gets broken down by bile. Bile is made in the liver on the right-hand side under your ribs, and that goes to the gallbladder. The gallbladder is like a reservoir, is a place where the bile sits waiting for you to have some fat in your meal. And then between the bile and the pancreas is also going to secrete some enzymes. And so all of this digestion is happening at the same time. Now, fat releases just a little bit of glucose. It's still going to have some glucose in it, but very minimal. And the glucose spike for that is very flat. So what about fruit? Is fruit a better choice than, say, starches or table sugar? Of course, it's just something that we have to look from the nutrient density perspective. So fruits have a ton of vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants, and amazing benefits to the human body. They have some glucose in them, but that combination with that fiber makes the glucose spike be lower. So that is the ideal type of sugar that you want to eat, because it's going to be combined with that fiber that slows down the absorption and the release of that sugar from the food and the absorption into the cell. So the glucose spike is going to be lower than, say, table sugar or refined carbs like white flour or white rice. So that's a better choice. However, it's still not going to have the protein, and it's not going to have the fat. So what happens when we eat a piece of fruit, for example, all by itself? We're hungry and we just go and have an apple. Is that going to make us feel full? It's going to give us the sugar spike. It's going to be slower than having a candy bar, for example. You're going to have more vitamins, minerals, and a little bit of fiber. But that glucose spike is still going to drop your blood sugar, and you're still going to be hungry. Why? Because you don't have protein. And protein is what our bodies crave. And this is what sugar cravings are made of, is when there isn't enough protein in your diet to help you slow down the release of that sugar. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe and tap on the bell so that we can notify you when I release a new video. So do you see how slowing down the release of sugar from the food is the key to managing your blood sugar, is the key to decreasing your sugar cravings and to feeling satiated or to feeling satisfied with the food that you're eating. So here are your 3 strategies to help you balance your blood sugar and avoid sugar cravings, and that is combining protein, fiber, and healthy fats. So number 1, start your meal with a salad or a vegetable or both. Why? Because you're bringing in all that fiber, and that fiber is being digested in your stomach as you're bringing in the protein and bringing in the starches. So the blood sugar spike is going to be minimized and you're going to feel more satisfied with your meal. Number 2, make sure that you bring in at least 20 grams of protein, especially if you're a woman. If you're a man, about 30 grams of protein per meal. And the way you figure that is 1 egg equals 7 grams of protein. So if you have 3 eggs, you're having 21 grams. If you have 3 ounces of meat, you're going to have 21 grams, and so on and so forth. You can supplement, you can have more, you can have less, depending on how hungry you are and what you want to accomplish. But that's kind of a rule of thumb. And then the 3rd strategy is to add some healthy fat to your diet. So make sure that when you choose fat, you're looking at real vegetable sources, not the seed oils. Okay, so I'm going to name 5 oils that you do not want to eat because they are mixed with a product called hexane, and they're chemicals, especially if they're in a see-through plastic container. You don't want that oil. That oil is going to be contaminated. It is produced in a way that is not beneficial to the body, and the body does not recognize it. I will do another video breaking down the fats, but you want to go with real fat that comes from an animal. So whether it's butter or ghee, grass-fed is preferable, coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, nuts and seeds, or tallow, beef tallow also, or lard. These are things that people will cook with and cooked with for years and years and years until the food industry decided that they were going to come up with these seed oils like canola, safflower, sunflower, corn oil, and soybean oil. All those oils are man-made. They are extracted with chemicals, and this is not what our bodies recognize as food. They have consequences to our health. If you like this video, here are more videos you may enjoy. Remember to like and subscribe.